Today, let's go ahead and make the fillings for the inside of our pie. Last time we got our crust ready to go, we baked it in the oven, we added some texture. We're going to take our circle for our filling and add some details to make it look awesome. So you either chose a yellow circle for maybe an apple pie, yum, a red circle for a cherry pie, or a blue circle for a blueberry pie. And a lot of what we draw inside of the filling is going to be covered by our beautiful lattice woven crust, but we still want to take our time and do a good job adding the filling. So maybe you want to practice first in your sketchbook, that's fine. Let's go ahead and do an apple filling first, but you can jump ahead to whichever one you would like to do in this video. I'm going to do one for apple, one for blueberry, one for cherry. So for the apple, we are going to be using these construction paper crayons, and we're going to draw in the shapes of apple slices. So as you can see here, I'm drawing straight lines and then a curved line to connect it. Now, the biggest thing today I want you to notice is that my drawing kind of overlaps, and I'm drawing through when I bump into something. So if I bump into another apple slice with my shape here, I just pretend like I go through it and out the other side, or I just stop drawing wherever it bumps into it. So my first job is to just fill this shape with as many of these, I guess they're like half moons, as I can. One thing I really want you to do is get as close as you can to the edge. So don't focus too much on the middle because you're actually going to see a lot of your filling from the edges. Let's go ahead and fast forward here while I finish the shapes inside. Okay, that is step one for an apple pie. Yum, looks delicious already. Let's do step one for a blueberry pie. A blueberry pie is going to be the same thing, except it's going to be a little bit easier because we're just going to do some circles. Now, all of my circles are kind of overlapping each other, just like my apple slices. So I could draw some random circles all over the place, but I also want to make sure I have circles that are overlapping. So whenever they bump into each other, they stop and go through it, or they just stop if you run out of room. So the first step for the blueberry pie is just to fill it up with as many circles as you can. Notice I used a brown pencil or a brown crayon for my yellow, and now I'm using a blue crayon or oil pastel for my blue. All right, that's step one for my blueberry pie. Let's grab a red and do step one with our red. So for this, I think I'm gonna grab a purple construction paper crayon or oil pastel, and we're gonna do the same thing we did for our blueberries, except this time they might be a little bit bigger because cherries are usually bigger than blueberries. So just like before, let's go ahead and fast forward while I cover this whole red pie filling with as many circles for cherries as I can. Remember to overlap. Done step one for all three, and now what I'm going to do is just add some highlights and some shadows to make it look even more awesome. So depending on what filling you have, you're going to stick with the color scheme of that color. So for the blueberries, we're just going to use shades of blue and maybe some white highlights. So I'm going to use a different shade of blue to kind of go around the inside of some of my berries, just to give it a little bit more of a shadow and give it more of a 3D effect. Let's fast forward here. All right, check it out. That's step two for my blueberry filling. How cool is that? Now I'm going to grab my cherry filling and do the same thing, except this time I'm going to grab a red crayon or oil pastel because I'm sticking with that color scheme of my filling, which is going to be these deep, beautiful reds. Let's fast forward here. All right, there we go. There's my cherry filling. Now we're going to switch over to the apple. This time we're going to be using maybe like an orange or even a green because we know that usually apple pies are made with a green apple, but I guess you could use golden apples. It's really up to you. So I'm going to use a green here to add some like green shadows or highlights, but you could also use orange or gold. So when we shave down our apples to make apple pie, you don't normally see the red skin, so I probably wouldn't use red. We're just going to use some beautiful golds, yellows, and even a little bit of green here. Okay, that was step 2 for all 3 of my fillings. This is the last step for all of them, and it's the same for all of them. We're gonna add a little bit of a white highlight to as many of these blueberries as we possibly can. Now remember, we don't need to be perfect. This is just kind of hinting at the delicious filling inside of our pie where a lot of it's gonna get covered up. So you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to worry about getting every single blueberry. Just do as many as you can and add a little bit of a white highlight to make them shiny. Because when you cook up those delicious fillings for a pie, they shine. There's my finished blueberry filling. Let's go ahead and do the cherry. The same thing here. How cool is that? All right, last but not least, we're gonna go ahead and add our white highlights to the sides of our apple slices. If you have the time and you want to be even more awesome, you could totally color in some of the in-between spaces with a purple or blue to make like a shadow in between your blueberries and your cherries and even your apples, but this part is optional. Let's fast forward here. All right, those are my pie fillings. How cool is that? Just try your best today. You're not a robot. You're not making robot art. You're just trying to hint at the delicious, beautiful filling that is inside of your pie. Here's how mine turned out. I can't wait to see what you create, and I hope you have fun making the filling for your pie. Love, your cozy art teacher.